Mthokozisi or something to that effect.
Ngiyazi ke ushilo ukuthi igama lakhe bungalazi ngalesi sikhathi kodwa ngabe sikhona yini isikhathi la uzame khona ke nokuthi umemezeke Mthokozisi.
Cha, ngizange ngimemeze.
No, I didn't call out.
Now, based on your story and your testimony, I'm going to put to you that your conduct on the night belie or undermine your story that there were intruders in that house that night.
Indlela ke wena ke owenzenga noma owenza ngayo ke ngaleli langa ke akusiyona ke indlela ekhombisa noma eshoyo ke ukuthi kunabantu abangene endlini ngaleli langa.
Ngicathi umbono wakho nawe lo.
I think that's your view.
Yeah.
Firstly, you, without making sure that the first intruder who has just fired possibly a mortal shot is still in the house, immediately jumps back into that house without making sure that the coast is clear for safety.
You say what shot?
A mortal shot, a fatal shot.
Yeah.
Owakwenza ke ukuthi ungekabi naso ke isiqiniseko noma ungekasenze isiqiniseko sokuthi ke lo muntu lona oqeda ke ukudubula manje noma oqeda ukuqhumisa isibhamuko ukuthi loyo muntu usesendlini noma usephumile yini uyaphinda ke wena uyabuyela khona kuloyo muzi lowo.
Not immediately sure imina lo noma immediately owuzwe kumakhelwane.
When you make a reference to immediately, is that an immediately that was a word that was used by myself or by the neighbor? Because I myself I never used that word immediately.
When did you jump back into the Khumalo households?
Ukujombela kwakho ubuyela kwamakhumalo wajumpa nini?
Lento ngisho ukuthi isikhathi angisikhumbuli kodwa hayi immediately.
It's what I said.
Immediately jump. That's immediately. You understand that one.
As I said, that at the time I cannot recall or I can't remember, but it wasn't immediately, because according to me, immediately I jump and I jump immediately. That's my understanding of immediately.
But that understanding is colored by the fact that you briefly spoke to somebody in the neighbor's yard, then immediately after speaking to him, you go back into a house where a firearm with a dangerous person that fired a shot is still there.
Ukhulumile nje isikhathi esincane lapha yana ke uma leso sikhathi esikhulumile lapha yana komakhelwane emuva kokuthi athi ke immediately emuva kokuthi ukhulumile naye ke uyabuyela ke kwamakhumalo la kusekhona lo muntu ke oqeda ke ukudubula.
Ngiye ngachaza ukuthi lesikhathi sesigwela amakhelwane sabuyela ngoba ngithi nginake ngoba phela ufuna specifically ngabuyela ngoba nakho sengizwa umsindo sekumenyeza uma kazandi engathi uyakumemeza uyakhala ephuma ngaphandle. So ngiye ngachaza lokho. So that's why la ngifaphe so
maybe that's why we're going to miss each other, because that's why I did mention before that when I jumped back, it was after hearing Zandi's mother screaming or I would say screaming or crying. That's when I jumped and going out of the house. That's when I then jumped back.
How long after you had jumped into the Khumalo household yard and Makhumalo screaming, whatever she was screaming, then you went over back to the Khumalo household yard?
I have missed the first part, sir.
He jumps into the neighbor's yard, and then sometime later, the time between, I want to know, jumping into the neighbor's yard and hearing Makhumalo shout. What was the time period in between?
Angithi ke ujumpela khona kwamakhelwane ke kufika lesi sikhathi ke la uzwa khona uMakhumalo ekhala noma ememeza ke ingathi isikhathi esingakanani ke phakathi ukuthi ujumpele kwamakhelwane nokuzwa kwakho uMakhumalo ememeza ekhala.
Ikona lokho engikuphendulayo nje ukuthi angikhumbuli ukuthi isikhathi kabe isikhathi esingakanani. So angifuni ukwenza estimate yesikhathi la ngoba angisikhumbuli lapho ukuthi kabe isikhathi esingakanani.
That is what I'm answering, that I don't remember the time, and I don't want to come here or to make an estimate of time here because I don't remember the time, how much time it was.
As a court, please, if you can just ask the witness to repeat. I think he said something after hearing Makhumalo's screams. He mentioned something further, if maybe that can be clarified.
Umshushisi kukhona ke nkathi ngaphambilini ukuthi uzo uMakhumalo ke ekhala ke uthi kukhona okushilo uthi mhlawumbe uma ungaphinda nje lokho awusho nje ukuthi yini but uthi kukhona okushilo.
Ngesikhathi njengoba ngisho ukuthi ngesikhathi sizwa uMakhumalo ngisho njalo uMakhumalo esikhala scream or something along those lines sengijabule ngaphakathi. Ngiyakhumbula ukuthi ngambuza mina ukuthi uphi lo munye lo uphethe isibhamu bathi uphumile.
All right, okay. What I said was that I don't know whether that's what the prosecutor is referring to, that after having heard Makhumalo scream or cry, and then after having jumped, I remember asking her, asking where is the other one, the one with the firearm, and then she said that he went out.
Now,
Yes.
now, you did not see the first intruder leaving the Khumalo household, correct?
Awuzange umbone lo wokuqala uma ephuma noma ehamba kwaMakhumalo?
Cha, ngimbonanga.
No, I didn't see him.
Now there's this point, and that pertains to the person that chased you out of the Khumalo household as you were running away. By then you say in your evidence in chief that the neighbors were out and about because they had heard the commotion, correct?
Ngalesikhathi ke uthi uphuma ke kwaMakhumalo usukelwa ke noma ujaha ke ilona ke owesibili ke ushilo ke ukuthi omakhelwane ke noma abantu babe sebephumileke ngoba bezwa umsindo.
Muthi abantu usho umakhelwane lawo noma usukhuluma ngamakhelwane bonke?
Are you just now speaking about the particular neighbor, or are you now speaking about the people around the neighbors?
That was never clarified in your evidence in chief. Perhaps it's your chance to clarify it.
Into ke engazange ichazwe ke noma icaciswe ke leyo uma ngabe unikezela ngobufakazi mhlambe ke isikhathi ke manje sokuthi wena ke uyicacise noma uyichazeke.
Cela ngibuza kumbuzo khona ngizocacisa.
Please ask the question so I can answer.
Okay.
Because I don't get the question.
That's fair enough. Like I told you day one, I'm fair to witnesses. I'm not here to trip you up. When you exit the house, right, somebody, second intruder, we agree, chases you up, right?
Ushilo ke ukuthi uma ngabe usuphuma ke lo wesibili ke wakusukela.
Yebo.
Yes.
Now, you say, in relation to that, within that context, that you could see that the neighbors have had the commotion. So, the clarity that I see, and correctly, you asked for it. Which neighbors am I talking about? So I said to you, clarify which neighbors had had the commotion.
Ngathi mina my neighbors as a commotion.
Did I say that neighbors had the commotion?
Not commotion per se. You said, as you ran out,
Yes.
you could see that the neighbors are also aware that something is happening. Let me put it that way. For let's not speak to a specific definition of what they had.
But I've never said
As a court, please, I don't think the witness said that.
When was that said, Mr. Advocate Ramsey? At what stage was?
I think, my lord, I stand under correction. It was at the stage when he ran out, the witness turns left, enters through the pedestrian gate, and the witness continues down straight. So my understanding, I've got it on my notes, unless I'm Renas on that aspect that already by then the neighbors, I'm not sure which ones, either the next door neighbors or the general neighbors in the neighborhood had heard of the commotion or what was happening in the vicinity of the Khumalo household. But I stand under correction, my lord, on that point.
Did you hear that?
I hear it, but I've never said that. So I'm going to because I repeat, I've never said ukuthi omakhelwane babesebezwile or umakhelwane wayesezwile ngesikhathi ngiphuma.
I'm mentioning that, or I'm saying that I never said that the neighbors had heard or the neighbor had heard on my way out.
But ngiyacabanga ukuthi nayo uyasho ukuthi mhlawumbe khona la abuya phambanise khona, so
But I think the advocate is also admitting that it might be, or it's also maybe possibly speaking under correction.
Now, the point is this: when you meet the next door neighbors now, say for example the son that you're referring to, did you tell him there goes one of the intruders who was chasing me and he was involved in the incident in the Khumalo household?
Uma usuhlangana ke nomfana walana ke umakhelwane ngabe wamtshela yini ukuthi nangu omunye wabo ke noma omunye walabo babili abangena noma bebesibamba inkunzi bekade ngijaha khona manje nangu ehla ngomgwaqo?
yebo ngakhomba ukuthi nangu ukuthi ehle ngamkhomba.
Yes, I did point out that there's someone going down. I did point out.
And did they take action in respect of what you were showing them?
Khona ke abakwenza ngalokho obakhombisa khona.
Ngiyenze ngisho ukuthi khona bakwenza phambi kwami ngisakhumbula kahle lapho.
I wouldn't say that there's something or they took action in my presence. I can't remember that.
Yeah.
And as you are talking to them, pointing out the second suspect that's running down the street, did you tell them, actually, there's a second one who's the gunman? When I left, you were still in the house.
Usubakhombile ke ukuthi nangu umuntu ehla. Ingabe wabatshela ke ukuthi ukhona ke nomunye yena ke lo bephethe isibhamu osengaphakathi endlini?
Angisakhumbula kahle kodwa ngibona. Angazi ngisakhumbula ngisho kanje.
No, I can't remember well, but I don't think I did. I don't know. I can't remember.
Yes.
And do you recall if you perhaps specifically asked the son that you saw in the neighbor's yard to call the police to report what had happened in the Khumalo household?
Uyakhumbula yini utshela indodana yakhe noma uyicela noma uyitshela ukuthi ke ifonele ke amaphoyisa noma bafonela amaphoyisa bachaze lokho okwenzekile kwaMkhumalo?
Cha, specifically yena ngikhumbula kodwa ngakhumbula sesingaphakathi endlini. Khona la sasisho khona sakufonela amaphoyisa babiza ambulance. Yafonela ambulance.
With specific regards to him, that I don't remember or I can't remember, but I do recall that being mentioned was when I was back in the Khumalo house when it was mentioned that the police should be called or an ambulance should be called.
Yes.
Now let's pause, and I want to touch on this aspect a bit. According to your story, the first time the intruders entered the home and they announced cell phones money, you say you immediately went and grabbed your phone. Where was your phone?
Theke uma sebengena ke futhi ke befuna ke ama cell phones kanye nemali ke wena ke wasujompela ke noma uthatha ifone yakho yayikuphi nendawo yakho phone?
Eseduze kwe TV.
It was next to the TV.
Yes.
And these intruders, I'm including them both, let me split them for clarity's sake. The first intruder who's on the hallway at the arc perhaps can see you going, because he's looking at the people sitting down on the sofas, can see you reaching for that phone on the sofa, correct?
Lona ke owokuqala owangena ke futhi yilo omingana ke kwi-passage lena ke noma kule arc yilo ophethe isibhamu. So uma ngabe uya efonini yakho ke uyothatha ifoni yakho uyakubona noma wayekubona.
Ngendlela oyibeka ngayo, it's false into ishoyo.
According to how you put it, it's false.
Basukuma, Senzo wasukuma. Lesikhathi sekuphushana kiwa ekitchen, mina ngathatha ifoni yami. Hayi isikhathi samile.
It is false. What you are saying is false, because what I said is that Senzo got up, they got up. Now it was at a time when they were now pushing each other towards the kitchen that I took my phone, not at the time when he was still standing there.
Please go back from me, I missed it a bit. You say your phone was where?
We'll move again.
It is on the TV.
On the stand, close to the TV.
And what did you do with that cell phone?
What's the one running on the cell phone?
I
took it and put it in my pocket.
And you earlier testified that at some stage you were charging that cell phone, but that was rudely interrupted by Kelly Kumalo taking your phone out and plugging her into charge, correct?
Ubushilo ke ngaphambi kokuthi ke wawubhizi ke ucharge yakhe cell phone waseyikhipha ke uKelly wafaka yakhe.
Yebo, ngisanda kufaka i-charger ifoni e-charging yami. E-charging njalo singathi yami e-charging. Ngathi ngisayibekile ngisanda kuyifaka. Wayikhipha yena yakhe, wayibeka eceleni. Mina wakhipha yona wayibeka eceleni. Wathatha eyakhe wafaka eyakhe. So iyayihleli nje lapho.
Yes, what happened is that I had just plugged my phone in the charger, and it wasn't long, I just plugged it, she took it out, and she plugged her phone into the charger. So my phone just remained there, it was always there.
Now,
Yes.
from the time the intruders entered the house at around 2000 on the 26th of October 2014 until they leave after the shots were fired, how long were they in the house?
Ukusukela ngesikhathi ke abangena ngaso ke laba babili ke khona ke endlini ngathi kwakula around 80 ke kwase kuqhuma ke isibhamu bahamba ke futhi ungathi ke kwakuyisikhathi esingakanani leso sisonke bayangena nokuthi baphume endlini kwathatha isikhathi esingakanani konke lokho.
Athatha isikhathi eside. Akuyisikhathi kokushesha, umphithi wayishesha lapha babengazile phela ukuzohlala nje.
It didn't take a long time, it went quick, everything went quick. They didn't come to stay there just like us.
I do understand that, but my point is in terms of time, because the reason I asked time, if the incident started at 8 and progressed as fast as you could, it took you people, the ones that were in the house, until 21:15 to arrive at the hospital that is 10 minutes away. That's why I'm asking the time. How much did they spend in the house from the minute they enter to the minute they leave after the shots were fired? No matter how many shots you had, whether it's one or two, but once they were done and Makumalo is shouting, they are gone, or whatever she's shouting, how long were they in the house and all of that?
How long were the suspects, or how long?
Yes, the time period from
Yeah.
the suspects, I'm talking about suspects.
Yes.
As they enter at around 2000, because that's what the time says in the indictment,
Yes,
and the time they leave. So I want this time in between for the duration of the incident.
That's why I'm saying I'm not going to be specific. Kodwa akuzange kube isikhathi esikhulu, and mangithi after 8, I'm not exactly saying it's phela ngithi ngo 8. As I've said, it's kwenzeka nini ngathi after 8. Njengoba estimate until ufike nini ngathi after 5. So it's an estimation. It could be 20 past, it could be quarter past, it could be 5. Angisakhumbuli, but I know it's after 8.
Kuthi-ke asikhumbule-ke isikhathi-ke ngoba konke akushoyo-ke uyaqagela noma ngaba esho ukuthi uma efika laphana kwakusemuva ko-5 akanikeze ngesikhathi eyisona nalapho uthi emuva ko-8 akathi u-8 uyaqagela konke lokho.
I take your answer, but you're still not answering my question. When I started at quarter past until roughly what time? It's an estimation. It's not binding on you.
But Mr. Ramsipidi, the witness is clear that he doesn't want to estimate the time.
Let me leave it at that.
I think he described it as a short time. He also says everything was happening quickly.
Let me leave it at that, my lord. It's neither here nor there.
Yes.
And now you return to the house. And when did you observe first when you got to the house that the deceased had been shot?
Usubuyela-ke khona endlini uqala nini-ke noma uzoqala nini-ke ukuthi uboneke ukuthi umufi wadutshulwa?
Ngambonelele phansi ngasebenzela la escape bese ngiyabona ukuthi kunenhlamvu phansi.
I saw him laying there, the person on the ground. I then lifted his t-shirt and then I saw wabona ukuthi unenhlamvu. And then I saw that he had
Bullet hole,
I saw a bullet hole. That's when I saw for the first time.
Yeah.
You say he was laying there. Where was he laying?
Sitting room area.
The sitting room area.
Yeah.
And precisely where in the sitting room area?
Kuphi nendawo i-sitting room area?
Ngichazele uzothini noma ngizobe specific kodwa e-sitting room area ngasesayidini lethu singala ngakhona.
Let's perhaps sorry to interject. Let's perhaps pull a photograph. Let's start with 57 of Exhibit B. Yeah, let's referring you to Exhibit B, that's photo 57. If you can perhaps point out where you for the first time saw the victim lying.
Noma ngingasho exact place but somewhere la.
Even though I won't say the exact place, but somewhere here.
On this side.
Well, somewhere.
Yes.
So, for record purposes, I just want to clarify before we place it on record. That will be at the end, because unfortunately the bill doesn't show exactly. That will be at the end of the sofa on the left, or
Who said to me I was sofa or left?
Njengoba ngisho ukuthi ngeke ngize ngibe specific ngichaze the exact spot but ingala leli side right
No,
somewhere
I
ngala.
won't mention the exact spot, but it was on this side. It was laying around there on this side.
Yes.
and in what position was he lying on? What position did you find him lying on?
Or I really can't position.
Ngingasho ukuthi wayibheke phezulu ngoba mina
Was
ngamvula la
facing
iskipper.
up because I just lifted up his t-shirt.
Yes.
And your testimony is that you lift up his t-shirt, and where do you notice the gunshot wound?
Uphakamisa ke iskipper wase ubona phi ke ihole noma inqaba leli.
La
Yeah,
isifubeni
and
sakhe.
let us understand, or let me understand clearly what you mean by lift up.
Exactly.
Yeah, you mean like, I understand that the deceased would have been lying
on his
flat, face up.
Yes.
When you say lift up, you mean pull it up.
If he can explain, my lord, in his words, so that he doesn't say I'm putting words into his mouth.
What is the
What do you
question?
mean when you say you lifted the victim's t-shirt up to notice
Iskipper
that
sakhe.
the gunshot wound?
Kanje.
Like this bega ngapha
You-
Like when I lift the t-shirt up like this.
You pulled it towards
Yeah.
the upper chest.
That's when I saw the bullet hole.
Igaso sikhathi ke la ngabona khona ke imbobo lena ke yenhlamba.
Yes.
And how was bleeding like at that stage that you observed when you lifted his t-shirt up?
Nalesikhathi ke usubona noma usuphakamisa ke iskipper ke ubona ke lo ngabelela ke uphuma lo kwegazi noma igazi lali kanjani.
Laliphuma kodwa phela hayi laliphuma heavily, but ngalibona igazi laliphuma, but hayi ukuthi kune heavy flow of blood cha.
I could see I saw blood, but not that there was a heavy flow of blood. No.
Yes.
And when you see him lying there on his back, who was with him at the time?
Nalesikhathi umbona ke elele laphana ke ebheke phezulu wayekanye nabani lapha.
Angisakhumbuli ukuthi wayenobani yazi.
I can't remember who he was with.
Angisakhumbuli ukuthi wayenobani.
I can't remember.
Yes.
And after doing that action of checking up on the wound, what else, or the next action that you took?
Emumva kokuthi wenze lokho yini enye owayenza.
Ngakhumbula ukuthi sabuza ithawula, bangilethela ithawula, ngalithatha ithawula ngalibeka phezu kwethi wound yakhe.
I remember that I asked or requested for a towel. The towel was brought, and then I placed it over his wound.
And just to be sure, so that there's no equivocation later as to who was pressing that wound with the towel at that stage, you are certain that it was only you at that stage that pressed the wound with the towel that you were provided with.
Unesiqiniseko ke salokho ukuthi ke wena phela umuntu ke owathatha itowel leyo ke wapressa ngayo lapha kwinqaba lakhe.
Ngeke ngize ngisho phela ukuthi mina kuphela ngathi mhlawumbe manje thatha credit for it, but ngambeka mina. So nokho nesiya abanye abantu azange bambeke, ngathi mhlawumbe sengifuna ukuthatha credit yalokho.
I wouldn't say that it was myself alone as if now I want to take credit, but I am saying that I'm the one who placed it.
And having pressed that wound with a towel to stem the bleeding, what did you do next?
Emumva kwalokho wasuthe.
Ngikhumbula ukuthi emva kwesikhathi saphuma kwathiwa ngiyakhuluma ukuthi khona kodwa akufonele bathi akufonele ambulance or akufonele amaphoyisa, kwakhona ukuthi ngoba usaphila mphuthumisene esibhedlela, and then that's when samqubula ke, if you are referring to that.
I remember that after some time, after a while, we went out because it was still in that conversation where the others were saying, call the police, saying call the ambulance, and then someone said he is still alive. That's when we then picked him up and we went out, if that's what we're referring to.
And at that stage, I'm referring to when you are pressing that towel on the wound. What was the victim's condition with respect, say for example, his breathing?
Ngalesikhathi ke usupress itowel leyo ke unqabeni ke isimo sakhe ke mayelana nokuphefumula kwakhe ke sasithinje ngaleso sikhathi leso.
Why gasp?
He was gasping.
And
Yeah.
did he utter any words at that stage?
Khona wakusho ngaleso sikhathi.
Cha, akukho akusho kodwa angazi akukho akusho but kwangumi nathi wafuna mhlawumbe ukukhuluma but kwangakhulumeki but akukho kodwa akusho.
There's nothing he said,
That's why
but
you
to
should try
me,
gasp.
it appeared as if he wanted to say something, but he said nothing. Hence, I'm saying that he was gasping.
Yes.
Now, what was the final decision regarding to emergency treatment? Because you say there were those that said ambulance or take him to hospital because he's breathing. What was the final decision?
Sasesithini-ke esogcina-ke isinqumo ngokuyashoka ukuthi abanye bathi ambulance, abanye bathi amaphoyisa ukhona ukuthi usaphila-ke. Isinqumo esathathwa sasesithini-ke.
Samthatha samphuthumise esibhedlela.
We took him and rushed him to hospital.
Yes.
Now, on the way to hospital, as you are transporting him, was he still gasping for air, or what was his condition like now at that stage?
Nanjoma nihamba-ke niya noma nimphuthumise-ke esibhedlela wayesagaspa yini?
Yebo esagasp.
Yes, he was still gasping.
Yes.
My Lord, I see we're closer to the big adjournment. I want to move to another section, which I'd like to start at 2 or whenever you could come back, my Lord.
May we all be punctual in returning, please. We shouldn't wait for anyone. We will adjourn for lunch.
At 2, my Lord.
That's my understanding. Or
In the 2, my Lord.